I mean, people come with instruments. You know, somebody comes to your house and says, I'll give you 2 hours, or give even 24 hours. You take what you think is the most precious thing to you personally. And that could have been somebody's cello. So there was a cello there. So she asked me to play something, and I mean, I hadn't played the cello for about 2 years, so I asked for a little bit of time to, you know, see whether I could still know where the notes are. And I played something to her, slow movement of the Boccherini concerto. I tried to play it, but there was no danger of my not passing the audition. I mean, she needed a cello, however badly I played. So I became the cellist of the orchestra, which I think is the reason why I have survived.
Who was Alma Rosé?
Alma Rosé was a very remarkable lady, and in retrospect, we all agree, because we are still, who is still alive, we are still in touch, we all agree that we have to thank her our lives. She was the daughter of Arnold Rosé, and Arnold Rosé was a leader of the Berner Philharmonic, had a very famous string quartet, the Rosé Quartet, and she was the niece of Gustav Mahler. I mean, a tremendous musical tradition there behind. She herself was a very, very fine violinist. And, but the most important thing, she was a very, very strong personality. She commanded respect from us anyway. I mean, we were scared stiff of her. But even from the SS. She was never, I mean, she was dignity in personified.
Vanya Fenelon, after she published her memoir, she became a famous cabaret singer. She lived for many years in East Berlin. She eventually moved back to France. She died in 1983 at age 65. I was going to show you a few things of note that have sort of happened lately, or what I consider lately in the last 10 years or so, of people's interest in the Rosé family and in telling their story. This CD was released in 2001. It's mostly string quartet music of the Rosé String Quartet. It also has some solo performances by Arnold Rosé, but it contains the only known recording of Alma playing. It was recorded in 1928, and she's playing the Bach double with her father. And I thought we might listen to a little excerpt of that. It's really a testament to what fine players they were that the sound quality is this good for their playing from something from 1928. The violin is a notoriously hard instrument to record to have a good sound. And if you've listened to historic recordings, even things from the 40s and 50s, so often the violin is very twangy sounding. And obviously we have some of that here, but not what you would normally hear. So really great performers for sure. In 2006, another CD was released of Arnold's performances, lots of solo tracks on here, lots of string quartet tracks, and some tracks of the Vienna Philharmonic with him conducting. Part of the reason that I tell Alma Rosé's story is so that we can honor those, so that we can remember these people. And I am amazed as I do research about how many people are out there doing wonderful things to help honor Holocaust survivors, victims of the Holocaust. And I wanted to share one with you. This is Amnon Weinstein, who is an Israeli violin maker. And in 1996, he began to collect violins that had been played during the Holocaust, particularly ones from concentration camps. And he began to restore them. And for every violin that he found and restored, he added a Star of David on the back, which you can see there in the picture to sort of mark that. And he not only collected the instruments, but he tried to collect all of the stories that went with each instrument so that he could preserve the story as well as the instrument. I wanted to read you two little short stories that came with his violins. This is a story told to him by a lady named Edna. Sometime after the end of World War II, a man knocked on our home door in Jerusalem. We didn't know him, and we were astonished to see him holding a violin wrapped in an old blanket. The man told us that he had met our uncle in the concentration camp. My father asked to have the violin, but the man asked for some money in return, and he admitted that our uncle had left him the instrument before dying. We paid the man, and he left, and we never saw him again. It was 1946, and since then the violin is our treasure, our only inheritance, and our only memory of our lost uncle. And one other story by a man named Muli. The violin arrived at our family in 1946. At the time, my father, Abraham, was working as an officer in the Joint International Organization. One day, a poor-looking survivor of Auschwitz approached him holding a violin. The man told my father that the violin had saved his life, that he had been a member of the orchestra in the concentration camp. But now he wanted to sell it because he needed cash badly. And my family bought the instrument from him. If you're interested, Amnon is coming to Charlotte in April. He is coming to the UNC at Charlotte. They are having an exhibit of these violins, of 18 of the violins that he has restored. And there's going to be a whole 2 or 3 week celebration of which they're going to have lectures and concerts. They're going to be playing the instruments. It's going to be the first time these instruments have been shown in North America, so it'll be a very exciting exhibit. I'd like to close this evening with a poem written by Tanisha Lynch from her whole collection of poems called Remembrance that have to do with the Holocaust. This one is called As the Orchestra Played. Summoned to Auschwitz doors, I could hear the violin's mournful voice calling to me as I entered history's largest grave as the orchestra played. When life selections took place, I could hear the drum's rhythmic pace, chronicling our short life's goodbye as the orchestra played. When I became a prisoner, I could hear the clarinet's fluid notes, mocking at what I have become, as the orchestra played. When I sorted through the evidence of martyrdom, I could hear the guitar's music, allowing my mind to escape as the orchestra played. When beaten without reason, I could hear the trumpets shout, announcing each crippling blow as the orchestra played. When I dug graves for my brethren, I could hear the bass's low hum, predicting the horror to come as the orchestra played. When train loads of people perished in gas chambers, I could hear the bagpipes' chilling song, forever haunting their frozen, blackened faces as the orchestra played. When I saw massacred skeletons wither away in ovens, I could hear the cello's sorrowful tune, lamenting a bitter cry as the orchestra played. When I struggled to survive, I could hear the flute sing, telling of my affliction as the orchestra played. When I was chosen to die, I could hear the accordion's melody, foretelling my fate as the orchestra played. When my essence exhaled its last, I could hear the harmonica proclaiming my life's departure as the orchestra played. When my ashes drifted from the grave, I could hear the instruments join as one, bidding me farewell as the orchestra played. Thank you.